In this session, we are going to learn about what are vectors in R. That is, how can we create vectors in R. So generally, vector is nothing but a array that is storing of similar data type elements, and we can define the vector by using C function. So generally, C function is used to create a vectors in R. So I quickly open my R Studio. So this is my R Studio. So before going to the deep into the vectors, first we are going to learn how can we initialize the variables. So the variables are initialized by using this arrow. That is, arrow is used to initialize the variables in R. So here I have taken two variables and I have added these two variables, and I am going to change the values in the corresponding variables also. And to know the types or variables that we have used in R, we are going to use a function called ls. That is, ls function will list out all the variables that we have used in the present program. And we are going to know about the type of each variable. We are going to call ls.str function to know about the type of the variable that we have already declared. That is, numeric or string variable, etc. So to delete any variable, we are going to use a function called rm, that is remove function, which will delete the variables. And there is no undo operation. If we delete a variable using an rm, then the variable will not be there in our program. Now, coming to creation of vector. So for creating a vector, as I already said, C function is used to create the vector. So this is an example for an integer vector. Now this is an example for a string vector. Now this is an example for a Boolean vector. Likewise, we can create a complex vector and other vectors also. Now we can combine the two vectors, that is, we can extend the vectors by using, here I have defined an integer vector and this is also an integer vector. Now I have combined by using C of v1 comma v2, and you can clearly see that the two vectors are combined. These two are integer vectors, and in R we can even combine integer and string vector also. So for that I have taken a string vector, and here after defining the string vector I have combined the integer vector along with the string vector. And same case here also I have combined the integer vector along with the string vector. Now in vectors we can also perform some basic statistical operations. For suppose here I have taken a Fibonacci series, and here I have called first statistic function as mean. So it will calculate the mean value, median, standard deviation, and as well as variance also. Now for correlation and covariance, it will be calculated between the two vectors only. So for that I have created the second vector y, that is log of x plus 1. This is a logical vector. Now here I am going to calculate the covariance and as well as correlation between the two vectors, that is x comma y. So this is the x, that is the first vector, and this one is the second vector. So between two vectors only we can calculate correlation and as well as covariance. What if we define a vector using NA value, that is not assigned values or null values? So here I have defined a not assigned value. When I am going to calculate the mean of x, it will display not assigned. So if at all any value is contained not assigned, then the entire value will not be displayed. So further we are going to call that a remove method, which is equal to true, then it will calculate the mean function. Now similarly, scope operator is used to find the sequences, that is we can define the sequences from 2 to 10 or 2 to 100, whatever it may be. So 2 to 100 means it will display the value from 2 to 100. Now in order to print the sequences, we can also select the alternate option, that is from 1 to 10 by 2, that it will differentiate the two between the sequences. And we can also repeat the sequences by passing a variable called times, that is by passing an option called times. So here I have mentioned 8 times so that it will print the two value 8 times. Now the colon operator creates the vector containing the sequences. Now how can we compare the vectors? That is, we can use the relational algebra operations between the two vectors. Let us say, for example, here I have taken a value a as 3. Now I am going to compare whether the value of a is equal to pi or not. We already know that the value of pi is 3.14. So 3 is not equal to 3.14. Hence it will display an output called false. So these two are errors. So here I have used a not equal to pi, means here not equal to pi means, so here we can get the true value. Actually a value is 3 and pi value is 3.14. Hence we can get the true value. Now here I have created another two vectors, that is v5 and v6. Now I am going to use the relational algebra operations. Let me say v5 equal to v6. Actually 3 is not equal to pi and pi is equal to pi. So in the second case it will return the value as true, and remaining all the two cases it will return the value as false, since 3 is not equal to pi and 4 is not equal to pi. The same case we can also use v5 is not equal to v6 and v5 is greater than v6 and v5 is less than v6, greater than or equal to and less than or equal to. So we can also apply the relational algebra operation, that is relational operators, on vectors. Now, in order to access the vector elements, first I have created a vector, another vector with a name called V8. I am going to call V8 of 1. So the vector index starts from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So here V8 of 1 means we are going to get the value as 12. And similarly V8 of 4 means 1, 2, 3, 4. We can get the value as 15. Now I am going to access the elements from one particular element to another particular element. So for such case, I am going to pass the sequence, that is colon operator. So 1 is to 3 means first, second and third element. And similarly 1 is to 5 means first, second, third, fourth and fifth element. What if we can pass the negative index also? For suppose we can pass the negative index means it will ignore the first element. Let me say V8 of -1. So it displayed all the elements except the first element. So -1 means it will remove, if it ignores the first elements in the vector. And similarly, we can also perform the arithmetic operations in vector. That is, we can add, subtract, multiply and division of two vectors. Let me say I have created two vectors V9 and V10. I am going to perform the arithmetic operation V9 plus V10 and V9 minus V10, V9 into V10 and V9 by V10. Here we can perform both addition, subtraction, multiplication and as well as division operation. And we can also even perform the square root, trigonometric operations also in vectors. So here I have called square root of V9, sine value of V9, cos value of V9 and tan value of V9. So similarly, the above are all the examples of trigonometric functions. Likewise, we can also create the vectors using a floating point also. And lastly, I have displayed all the variables that I have used in my program. So in this way, vectors are widely used in R language. Thank you.